This is Steve Colano, and this is Confidential Remarks. Selling your house is likely the largest financial transaction of your life. Underneath the staging and open houses is a very real fear. What if you make a mistake that costs you tens of thousands of dollars in equity? The real estate industry triggers that fear using a specific, heavily weaponized term, the discount agent. Discount describes a gatekeeper's defense mechanism. It's a script designed to protect a commission percentage that has climbed far above inflation for decades, even as the work of selling a home has become more automated. Logic suggests that if an agent charging 1% is a discount agent, then the agent charging 6% is an overpriced agent. Both labels are equally fair, but the industry only uses the one that protects the high number. Prioritizing this legacy fear over basic math causes many sellers to protect the agent's commission check rather than their own home equity. To understand the cost of that choice, you have to look at the actual work required to sell a home and compare two identical transactions at different price points. The traditional 6% model assumes higher property values deserve higher fees, implying that a more expensive home requires a more expensive level of service. This matrix compares a $300,000 home and a $600,000 home. The labor inputs are identical. It's the same listing work, the same photography, the same paperwork, and the same hours of negotiation. At $300,000, the seller pays $18,000 for that checklist of work, but the $600,000 seller pays $36,000. That is twice as much money for the exact same amount of labor. In this model, you are not pricing for service. You are pricing for property value. Homeowners with higher property values are effectively penalized, losing tens of thousands of dollars in equity for no additional work. This raises a common concern. Does paying only 1% force you into a stripped-down, bare-bones experience? Frequently, the 1% agent is the more experienced operator. They provide full service by using a more efficient economic engine than the traditional model. We map out this efficiency by comparing commission fee against transaction volume. The traditional agent stays in the high fee quadrant, living deal to deal. Closing only 2 or 3 deals a year means you must maximize profit on every single one to survive. That model is also expensive to maintain. These agents often hand 40% of their commission back to online portals just to buy leads and stay visible. The 1% agent moves to the high volume quadrant. They rely on efficiency and personal funnels that attract buyers directly, which eliminates that 40% referral tax. When an agent closes 40 deals a month without paying for leads, the economics work. They can keep more of their fee than a full-price agent who is constantly paying off lead portals. A 1% full-service agent is mathematically sustainable. They trade high-touch desperation for a highly efficient, process-driven transaction machine. Traditional coaching teaches agents to warn sellers that they will leave money on the table if they don't pay a full commission. To test that claim, you have to look at how a seller determines their asking price. Most sellers have a net target, the specific amount of cash they need in their pocket to afford their next home. At 6%, the asking price must cover the seller's net target and the agent's fee. This heavy pressure pushes the price towards the top of market comps. The higher it goes to absorb the commission, the harder the deal feels for buyers. Now, consider the 1% model. Because the overhead is 5% lower, the seller has significant pricing headroom. The seller can hit their same net profit while listing the home at a more competitive price point. This lower entry price attracts more buyers and generates offers faster because the home isn't straining to pay for a high commission. The industry script gets the physics exactly backward. The heavy 6% fee is the literal barrier sitting between you and a successful closing. Understanding this requires a distinction between an agent's visibility and their actual value. The industry relies on the illusion that a personal brand, the charm, and the spotlight is what generates a home sale. In reality, consumer-facing technology and the MLS drive the vast majority of buyer attention today. Buyers find the house through their own apps, not the agent's headshot. The licensed agent's fundamental role is providing the legal oversight necessary to close the deal. They make the transaction legally real and handle the paperwork. Overpaying for visibility is an unnecessary premium when the only required outcome is a legally sound closed transaction. Because charisma is often mistaken for competence, the traditional living room interview is a flawed way to hire an agent. These meetings reward rehearsed salesmanship and objection handling scripts rather than a proven ability to move property in the current market. You have to mute the pitch. Before you meet any agent, use public real estate databases to run a data-driven vetting protocol on their actual track record. First, check total recent closings. High volume proves their system is efficient enough to support lower fees. Second, look at average days on market. This shows if they understand pricing strategy, or just list homes and wait for the market. An agent whose history is clear in the public record does not need to ask for your trust. If their record can't speak for itself, the sales pitch is usually covering for a lack of results. For many, paying the standard 6% feels like the safe choice in a high-stakes transaction. However, since a 30-year veteran and a brand new rookie charge that same fee, the price is clearly not a measure of skill. It is a habit dressed up as a standard. If you want to protect your equity, you have the analytical permission to hire a 1% full-service agent. The trade-off is that you must demand transparency. You must verify the volume data yourself and treat the hiring process as a business decision rather than a social one. You are the seller and you hold the equity. You have the right to choose a transparent fee tied strictly to the work performed, not the size of your asset. The only question left is whether you'll keep the pen. This has been Confidential Remarks.